Welcome to the History AI podcast, where the past comes alive with facts, anecdotes, and a dash of humor. Here are your hosts, Chuck and Marco.
Hello listeners, and welcome to another riveting episode of the History AI podcast. I'm Marco.
And I'm Chuck. And today we're diving deep into the life of one of the most iconic figures in American history, Paul Revere.
And trust me, there's more to this guy than just a midnight ride. But before we get into all that, a big shout out to our patrons for supporting the show. And if you're new here, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on future episodes.
Alright Marco, let's gallop into it. Starting with Paul's early days.
Paul Revere was born on January 1, 1735, in Boston. He came from a French Huguenot lineage. His dad was Apollos Revere, but to fit in better, he anglicized his name to Paul Revere, which he then passed on to his son.
Funny how names work. Can you imagine calling it Apollos Midnight Ride instead? Doesn't quite have the same ring to it.
No, it doesn't. But what's in a name, right? Paul grew up as the eldest of 12 children, which means loads of hand-me-downs and presumably, not much quiet time.
Apart from the famous ride, Paul was a man of many talents. He was a silversmith, an engraver, and even dabbled in dentistry.
Really? Dentistry?
Oh yeah, legend has it he once made a set of artificial teeth for George Washington, though that's debated. But if it's true, Revere was basically the 18th century version of a celebrity dentist.
Imagine Paul Revere saying, "I warned of the British, and I can brighten your bite."
Now, one group Revere was deeply associated with was the Sons of Liberty.
That's right, these were the rebels who organized protests against the British. They were vital to the revolution, and Revere played a key role in the group, often using his skills as an engraver to create propaganda.
Yep. His most famous engraving might be the depiction of the Boston Massacre, which, while not entirely accurate, stirred up anti-British sentiments. Talk about using art as a weapon.
Moving on, Paul previously had a role in the French and Indian War, though not as prominent as in the Revolution.
True, but it was this war that might have lit the revolutionary spark in him. He served as a second lieutenant in an artillery regiment. Though it wasn't a major role, the experiences surely shaped his perspective on British rule.
Okay Chuck, time for the legendary ride. It was April 18, 1775, and Revere made his famed journey to warn the Patriots that the British were coming.
And contrary to popular belief, he probably didn't shout "the British are coming." It would have been more discreet, like "the regulars are out."
After the ride, we have the battles of Lexington and Concord, where the first shots of the American Revolution were fired. While Revere didn't actually fight in these battles, his warning played a pivotal role in the Patriots' preparation.
And then there's Bunker Hill. Again, Revere didn't fight, but he was responsible for gunpowder production, ensuring the rebels had ammo. Because, as they say, don't fire until you see the whites of their eyes, and have bullets of course.
Yeah, that does help.
Wave goodbye to sugar-loaded boosts and say hello to Strike Force Energy. The energy drink additive revolutionizing how you power up, all without a single calorie or sugar. Just a squeeze, and you're set for action. Ready to make the switch? Visit strikeforceenergy.com. And for our listeners, spark your savings with an exclusive 20% discount. Just use code UTSALAX24 at checkout. Remember, UTSALAX24. Strike Force Energy, elevate every sip.
Now, back to our story.
The revolution raged on, and so did Revere's contribution. He was even held in suspicion by the British at one point, proving how much of a thorn he was to them.
His contribution wasn't limited to battles. He opened a foundry that produced cannons and even the bolts for the USS Constitution.
Fast forward, Revere passed away on May 10, 1818. But his legend? That lives on.
He became an American icon, especially after Longfellow's poem, Paul Revere's Ride. His home is now a historic landmark, and his legacy as a symbol of resistance and American ingenuity persists.
So, next time you think of Revere, remember he was more than just a writer. He was an artist, a rebel, an entrepreneur, and even, maybe, George Washington's personal dentist.
That's a legacy worth remembering.
And that wraps up today's episode on Paul Revere. Hope you learned something new and had a few laughs along the way.
As always, thanks for tuning into the History AI podcast. Until next time, I'm Marco.
And I'm Chuck. Keep making history, folks.